Hotshot Racing!
Hotshot Racing is an upcoming retro throwback racer from Lucky Mountain Games that is also receiving development support from Sumo Digital and Curve Digital. The game was previously known under its working title of Racing Apex and is due for release this summer of 2020. We have very kindly been given access to the beta and a code was provided by Saturn Memories. However, I have been told that the only thing I have to mention is that this game is in beta, so please bear that in mind. But that's it, so let's get on with the real meat and potatoes and delve into my first impressions. I think Hotshot Racing is very good, and Sega fans will have a lot to like here. Visually, the game is going for the untextured polygonal look of Virtua Racing, but it's the game's handling model that really showcases this game's influences. The game plays like a mix of Outrun 2 and Ridge Racer. The car can drift in an identical fashion to Outrun 2, where you stamp quickly on the brake and then accelerate to get the back end out, and it feels oh so good. You also have the slipstream mechanic, which allows you to follow a car for a moment and then rocket past them thanks to following in their slipstream. This mechanic also feels remarkably similar to Capcom's Auto Modelista, thanks to the visual cue of the anime speed lines that appear on screen when you're in another car's slipstream. It's a nice little touch that I wish more racing games would use more frequently. The car's handling is definitely more on the Ridge Racer side of things. Your car fishtails similarly to Ridge Racer, and you have the same boost gauge as Ridge Racer, which you can fill by repeatedly drifting around corners. However, you can only use the boost in single chunks, and there's no way to double or triple tap to drain more segments of the boost gauge. Driver AI is surprisingly aggressive, with other racers often shunting you around and pushing you into a spin. It certainly makes the races feel more frantic, and thanks to the slipstream feature, you often find you're almost always in a thick pack of cars and trading places. Tracks are also really well designed and remind us of Scud Race and Daytona USA more than Virtua Racing. Trackside detail is extremely dense, with features like underwater tunnels, marinas and castles littering the scenery. The choice of supercars, while not licensed, also have an air of Scud Race about them, especially the colour scheme of certain liveries. We made mention of Auto Modelista earlier, and there's definitely more influence from that game in Hotshot Racing's customization options. Each car can be customised with new bonnets, trims, wheels, spoilers and more, and you can even change the design of your driver's racing suit as well. We also tried out the game's online modes. There's 3 currently available: a standard arcade mode for simple races against people or a mixture of human players and AI. Then there's Cops and Robbers, which puts you in either the position of the cops or the robbers, with cops trying to shunt the robbers into submission until they explode. Playing as the robbers means you simply have to avoid the police and collect the money tokens, but this is easier said than done because cops can also turn around and drive at you head on. It's pretty crazy stuff and a lot of fun, even if you do get taken out pretty quickly if you're not lucky. There's also another mode called Drive or Explode, where you have to maintain your speed or else your car will start to take damage and eventually explode. It's seriously intense stuff, and it'll make you drive more aggressively and use the boost more. Netcode was really solid and we didn't experience any drops in performance, so it's pretty good stuff if you're interested. Lucky Mountain are clearly big fans of arcade racing games, and they've cherry-picked some of the best features to include in Hotshot Racing. In fact, I think this leads me to my only real criticism of the game, and it's the fact that Hotshot Racing doesn't really have much of its own identity. It just isn't doing anything that loads of other racers haven't already done, and while it's doing them all well, it just doesn't have any gimmicks or features of its own. Even its stylized art style has been done in similar retro throwback racer Horizon Chase. Hotshot Racing needs something of its own to really stand out. Maybe the tracks could have been even crazier and featured things like corkscrews and loops. Maybe the art style needed to be a little bit more unique. Maybe there could have been more creative ways to earn boosts than simply drifting or following a slipstream. Either way, Hotshot Racing suffers from familiarity despite being a brand new title. But this is my only criticism of the game as it currently stands, and there might be further tweaks to this title that help it settle on its own identity between now and release. Regardless, if you're an arcade racing fan and you're looking for something to remind you of that Sega arcade magic, then Hotshot Racing is aping that style beautifully, with a visually striking look that is complemented by a fantastic handling model. This has the potential to be one of the greatest arcade racing games of all time, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it over the past few days.